And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
What's up, everyone? Hope everyone's having a good day. Usab, hit us with that throwback.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most exhilarating football podcast in the entire Tampa Bay area. As Carter said, Musab here with you, introducing to you RBLR Sports with the RBLR Bucs gang tonight, your ultimate source of passion, analysis, and pure football fervor. We're here to dive deep into some Tampa Bay football and capture the hearts of millions. Whether you bleed red, pewter, and black, or you're a newcomer to the Tampa Bay football scene, we promise to ignite your passion and immerse you in the heart-pounding world of the Buccaneers. I got great news for y'all, which is all you need is one hand to count down how many weeks we have till we get to see our 2023 Buccaneers on the field. 5 more weeks. The sun has been shining on our city. It's been real hot, seriously. And to the NFL, especially them Buccaneer haters, 100% sure this is a symbol for how hot we coming into this season. Coming in hot tonight. I know they're just as fired up as I am. Listeners, they are back, ready to attack. First and foremost, we got Zach. What's up, man?
God, I've never been so damn pumped up my entire life, Musab. I'm just happy to be here, brother. Finally get to come back and talk to you guys after a great 4th of July. I'm excited, man. Let's get into this.
You can't forget that final piece to this RBLR Buccaneer puzzle. Mr. Carter, how you doing this fine evening?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful after that amazing intro, Musab. We hadn't heard it, so it was just fresh, and that's why we were just so into it for the listeners. That was hype as hell. That was awesome. Thank you, Musab, for introducing us. And we'll get right into it. I mean, shoot, after that, that's
gonna be a tough act to follow, man.
For sure. It's a very difficult act to follow. I don't know what I'm gonna do now, but before we get too deep into it, we have to ask y'all to like and subscribe if you like what you hear, which I loved what I just heard from Musab. So if you want more really amazing intros, even if you just tune in for the intro, that's cool. I understand. I would do that myself. Hit that like and subscribe button for sure. But now we'll get into another really hot topic. Speaking of hot, it is really controversial. I mean, a lot of people have very stark opinions on it, either one way or the other. There's no in between. Does pineapple belong on pizza? Musab, go. God, we went to the wrong direction. Go ahead, Musab. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Ooh, I'll tell you this, not on all pizzas. When we talk pizzas, I mean, there's really some special kind of pizzas. You can't just throw them pineapples on there. But I'll say this, there's no reason someone should hate, for someone adding pineapples to a pizza when you're getting it from a franchise like Domino's, Papa John's, or Pizza Hut. Whatever makes you happy makes me happy. You could throw a couple of bars of Kit Kat for all I care on a takeout pizza. And, if that's your forte, so be it. So I'll leave it at that. I think it's fine with me.
All right. Fine with you, Zach. Maybe you have a more intense feeling about it.
Let me ask you a separate question, okay? If you wanted to become an NFL wide receiver one day, right? And you went to Mike Evans and he said, this is how you have to do it. This is how you should do it. You would listen to him, right?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Gordon Ramsay himself has said pineapple does not go on pizza. And I think Gordon Ramsay is the equivalent to a Mike Evans in the cooking world. So it does not go on pizza. I think that's grounds for breakup, divorce, something. But pineapple does not go on pizza. That's disgusting. And if you eat it, I feel bad for you.
Wow, that's intense.
Damn straight. I'm passionate about my pizza, damn it.
I feel you. No, I feel you. Pizza's it's a big hot button issue because everyone loves pizza. I mean, it's a unifying thing. So what goes on the pizza can be incredibly divisive. It's a difficult subject to broach. I don't know if it's a deal breaker for a relationship.
It's not.
No, but I feel
Michaela eats pineapple on her pizza. My stepdaughter eats pineapple on her pizza. So I talked it up a little bit. Like if she's listening, I'm sorry, babe. I didn't mean it. I still love you, but it's gross.
Man, so you talk a big game but can't back it up. That's
100%. 100%. It's only when she's not around.
Right, for sure. When she's right, yes, honey, yes, dear.
Oh, 100%. Yes, ma'am, whatever you want. I'll try the pineapple.
All right. Well, look, I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't dig it. I'm kind of like Musab. I'm not a huge fan of it. Definitely can't put it just willy-nilly on any type of pizza. I feel like the Hawaiian pizza with pineapple and ham, that's a pretty solid, that's a pretty solid choice. I can at least respect it. I may not enjoy it. I may not eat it myself, but I can at least respect it. Hey, there are plenty of things that I like that other people don't like. I'm a big crawfish guy. Freaking love that stuff. And
Great.
A lot of people,
Great stuff.
for sure. But a lot of people, they get creeped out by it. They see the little creepy crawlers and they're like, oh God, what the hell? So, different strokes for different folks. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, I wanted to start us off with a hot button issue just to kind of get us going, before we get into this episode, because it is the dog days of the off season. We're getting into the, Musab said 5 weeks away, which is very, very exciting. I'm really glad that you mentioned that, Musab, because good gracious, it has been tough as a football fan, just sitting here twiddling our thumbs, wondering what the heck's going to happen. But we'll start it off with our football segments with some big question marks. The Bucs are going through a lot of changes. There's that Tupac song Changes, and the Bucs are a perfect representation of that. Or the David Bowie song, whatever musical endeavor you choose to partake in. They're definitely going through a lot of changes. A very different roster. So we'll start on the offensive side of the ball, because we certainly can't just say question marks in general. So offensively, what are your biggest question marks? Zach, we'll start with you. What are some kind of things that you're just kind of iffy on to start the season for the Bucs?
Yeah, I think the biggest question mark is Rachaad White.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I think. Well, okay, so obviously, I feel like it's kind of an out to the question if I say who's going to start. That's obviously a big question,
yeah.
But we kind of assume it's Baker.
Right.
Then I feel like our offensive line, as much as everyone's kind of hating on it, I think it's already pretty established on who's going to be starting there. So I say Rachaad White on offense because he's the only skill position on offense that's unproven. We don't know what he can do. If he comes out and rushes for 1,000 yards, then I'll eat my words that I've ever said wrong, and I'll, I'm going to support him either way. But I think that there's a good chance he's kind of 50-50 right now. He's either going to be a 1,000-yard rusher or he's going to be a bust. He's going to be a Keyshawn Vaughn, and we're going to sign someone mid-season. So that's kind of why I look at him as our biggest question mark right now.
Okay, I see where your head's at. For sure. Yeah, I definitely can understand that. In regards to the question mark, like you said, it's an easy cop-out to say the quarterback position.
Yeah.
That's kind of basic. You don't want to be basic. You want to have a little bit of a different take. So I feel you. The running back position, definitely weird. Very up in the air. The offensive line, it's tough because, there's still a decent amount of talent there. There's some veteran pieces. There's some young guys that could step up and really, ball out, as Musab would say. I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you. I think the running back is definitely a huge question mark moving forward, especially on a team that has a pretty, wishy-washy quarterback situation. So they're going to be running the ball a lot, and Rachaad White is going to have to kind of take that and run with it, so to speak. Musab, how about you? Maybe you have a difference of opinion. Maybe there's a spot on offense that you're looking that's a bit more of a question mark for them.
Yeah, just piggybacking off what Zach said with the whole Rachaad White situation. I agree with him. This could be a bust, and if so be it, yeah, we're gonna have to snag someone else. I do have high hopes for him only because I'm not gonna depend on Keyshawn Vaughn or Chase Edmonds, and that's my only fear. Well, my only fear is, what Zach mentioned, we're gonna have to sign someone mid-season if Rachaad White doesn't do well, because if he can't do it, then obviously Keyshawn Vaughn and Edmonds ain't going to back him up either. It's going to be really, really ugly. And I think we've already, discussed this before. I don't have anything nice to say or special things to say about Edmonds or Vaughn. So, looking at the defense, if you're like, okay, well, Rachaad White, maybe he's not the beast, but obviously if they're going to run the ball, it's going to be Rachaad White. So it is concerning indeed, for sure. Now, y'all were kind of mentioning the whole kind of QB situation being basic, and I don't want to say, oh, no, hold it, hey, check me out. I don't want to say, oh, is it going to be Trask and Baker? I'm with Baker. Now, I only want to mention that Mike Evans did mention that he did say, oh, whoever is the starter, I feel good for them. Obviously, he's not going to say, if Baker's a starter, I feel good with him, and if Trask isn't, I don't feel good. But what I want to know is, do you think Baker is going to have some kind of success, maybe somewhat of a hero in our Buccaneers, or do you think he's just going to have a mediocre year, better than Trask for sure, and he's just going to turn out to be a journeyman like some other guys in the league, like, Andy Dalton, for example?
It's a good question. I mean, there's definitely that's the big question. I feel like that's definitely the biggest question mark. And I, like me and Zach were saying, it's kind of basic. It's an easy cop out, but it's the biggest question mark without a doubt. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would love for him to come in, kind of be like a folk hero kind of thing, an underdog story. And if there's anyone that's been an underdog story throughout his football career, it's Baker Mayfield. So, I feel like the lights are on and the stage is set, and it's, the ball, it's in his hands. It's kind of just up to him to perform. Obviously, it's never going to be a one-man show. We saw it last season with Brady. Even he couldn't uplift a pretty mediocre offensive line and roster in general. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely going to be up to the supporting cast. I don't think it's just Baker has to, do everything himself, because that's not who Baker Mayfield is. There's no quarterback in the NFL that can do that, but especially not Baker Mayfield, with all due respect to him. Zach, maybe how do you feel about it? You think maybe, I know you're a huge fan of his, so maybe
I feel like, and not just you, Musab, but I've heard other people use the word journeyman, and I feel like it's kind of overused, because I know he's been with 3 teams now. 2 of those teams were in the same season. So, like, Andy Dalton, that is the perfect definition of a journeyman. He's been with how many different teams now? But, like, he got traded from a team that was rebuilding, so they benched him. They were going for that number 1 pick. I'm not saying that he was having a great season, but they were going for the number 1 pick to begin with. Mm-hmm. So you have a tanking team that he was traded from. He came into LA, which was not a good team either, and did okay. So I think, given the weapons he has, and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and just the weapons he has around him, I don't think he's going to be a Pro Bowler, but I think that for him to be considered a hero, all he has to do is take us to the playoffs, because no one's expecting it.
Right. I mean, being taken to, the thing is, with this division, it would be pretty, it wouldn't be that far-fetched for him to lead them to the playoffs. And
exactly.
Kind of to throw a wrench into this conversation, I think another big question mark for this offense is Dave Canales. He's the new OC. No one really knows what he can do as a play caller. It's his first time doing it. So I think that's a pretty big question mark as well, that I myself have forgotten to mention. So that's going to be pretty huge, especially when we talk about Baker Mayfield and his success. We've seen with Byron Leftwich, if the play calling is uncreative and just dull, then even Tom Brady looks like crap.
And I think Baker Mayfield is the perfect candidate to have. I mean, I don't know if he can technically win like comeback or most improved or comeback player of the year, but Dave Canales is literally the perfect person to pair with Baker Mayfield. I mean, look what he did to Geno. He made Geno a legitimate, and I'm not saying it was just him, but he made Geno a legitimate Pro Bowl quarterback last year. Who would have expected that? So I think that if there's anyone that I'm excited to see work their magic, it's Dave Canales on Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
I feel the same way. I'm just hoping that, Baker, I think Baker is probably going to take us far. I don't mean that he is a current journeyman right now. I just think that, for me, I don't think that he's just going to get passed along again immediately. I don't know what the Buccaneers' plans are next year with the whole quarterback situation. I guess it depends on how, Baker and Trask do. But like you mentioned, if he takes us to the playoffs, that's definitely more than enough than what we wanted or expected.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough because I know Baker's obviously on a 1-year deal, and I think Trask's contract might expire after this year as well. So, it's kind of an awkward situation with the quarterback room, especially if one of them does play well or if Baker plays well. Either one of them could command a bit of a payday, because how a quarterback can ride the success of one season into a huge contract, or, well, relatively speaking, right? Yeah, for sure. So it'll be definitely really interesting to see. But moving to the other side of the ball, the defensive side, it's not nearly as much of an upheaval on the offensive side, but there's still some guys that have left. They're not still there. Logan Ryan is one of them. Mike Edwards is gone. The Carl Nassib situation. He's a free agent. He's not coming back. Obviously, Akeem Nicks is not coming either, or Akeem Hicks. Yeah, Hicks. My bad. So yeah, there's still a lot of new faces. So for me, the biggest question mark is definitely the slot corner position. It's just, I don't know. It's the secondary in general, really, but especially that slot corner position. Just because right now, I genuinely have no idea who's going to play it. They've got that rookie Hayes that could come in, but I don't know. He's a late round pick, and to ask a late round pick to come in and play starting football minutes or starting football snaps minutes of basketball. But it's a tough proposition. Zach, how about you? What are your biggest question marks?
Well, like Musab said earlier, to piggyback off yours, I think it's crazy that we don't know at this point, because literally, like, you have a feeling on somebody. I think it's going to be Zion McCollum. But then again, like, I think he's primarily an outside corner. So it's just one of those things where, like, realistically, it could go so many different ways. We could still bring somebody in all honesty. Yeah. So it's so confusing. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, I think that's got to be one of the top questions. And for me, another one of the top questions is, what are we going to do with Servassier Dennis? Because from what I'm reading, he's making some moves and kind of surprising some people in camp and stuff. So, like, how can we deploy him to use him instead of him just sitting behind David and White?
Yeah, he'll be an interesting contributor. Musab, how about you? What's your big question marks for this defense?
I mean, we're kind of all on the same page. I was just going to say, I feel the same way with the guys that y'all been mentioning. I have a different feeling when it comes to the defense compared to the offense. Injuries are bound to happen with our defense. Are there certain areas where you feel somewhat okay with the backups, or are there certain positions where you're thinking, oh Lord, like, this is our backup?
Kind of like corner.
Yeah.
You beat me to it.
If we have one injury, we're screwed.
Right.
It's that shallow.
Yeah, like I remember a few years ago, it was like David and Dean went down. So D. Delaney was getting, starting snaps at the cornerback position, which is brutal. I mean, it's not good. Yeah, and I think one that we haven't mentioned so far is the pass rushing. That edge rush position, JTS and Shaq. I mean, Shaq's coming off the injury. I know we've mentioned it in previous episodes, and JTS just hasn't performed up to his first round billing. It's going to be tough. They brought in Yaya, so we'll see how he's able to do. Anthony Nelson is coming back, so we'll see if he's able to take advantage of maybe a bit of an expanded role, so to speak. So there's a lot, there's a lot of questions on the defense as well. Maybe not quite as large, maybe not, certainly not quite as important as the quarterback position, but there's still questions there nonetheless. But the one thing that I don't question whenever I'm, thinking about the Bucs or any Tampa Bay sports really in general is what gear I'm going to be rocking. And that is RBLR gear. It is dope. It is fresh. It is hot. Get them while they're there, because we're running out of stock quick. Definitely visit shop.rblrsports.com. You can get a 10% off code right there. Cannon, CANNONS. Just enter that bad boy in there and you get 10% off everything on your order. So definitely check that out. After that shameless shop plug, we're moving to the second half of our episode, and we're doing a bit of a retrospective. We have some certain feelings about last year. It was certainly a letdown. If we're thinking about the expectations going in, they were a Super Bowl contending team, but there were still some fun games. There were still some nice moments, but of course there were some bummers too. So we'll get into all of that, but we'll start with the best memory, the most fun times of the Bucs 2022-2023 season. So what's your best memory of last season? Zach, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think, like, looking at it as a whole, I think the best memory is probably seeing some of our defensive players kind of blossom, like Jamel Dean. He came out and we were like, all right, we're going to have to pay him. I mean, Carlton Davis had a great season. So I think it's kind of a general statement on what was like my best moment, but my best moment was probably just seeing some of the young defensive guys blossom when they did.
All right, that's a good one. Yeah, I mean the defense stepped it up. You know, there's not a doubt about it. They were really, really good last year. It was, like you said, it was really fun to watch the guys step up and, you know, play on a team that was defense first. You know, they were not an offensive powerhouse, so it's kind of up to them to keep them into games. But Musab, how about you? Maybe you have a more specific memory, or did you just have a storyline that you enjoyed? What was your most positive memory of last season?
Something similar to what Zach said. I mean, listen, it was a roller coaster of a season, but probably seeing the rookies come through, you know, for example, Cade Otton against the LA Rams and Rachaad White against the Saints. Just the fact that, you know, we were able to beat the Saints twice that season was real nice. And then even the fact that, you know, we beat the Rams who had beaten us last time, that was real nice. So, you know, it was, again, you know, we had people like, you know, D. Delaney stepping up, which was a little bit haunting at times. But then there were people like Cade Otton and Rachaad White who, you know, you weren't really expecting it to happen, but, you know, they came through for us. So it was an up and down season, but I feel like, you know, it was, I guess it kind of kept us in the game. It, you know, it kind of made us a little bit emotional, but, you know, that's what football is all about. You know, sometimes those seasons where you're just pummeling past every team or you're winning every game, you're like, hell yeah, you know, we're the champs or we're the best and all that. But it's good to have those kind of off weeks and then boom, you know, we're right back at it. We're coming in hot. We're coming out with the weekend with the win. You know, makes me to walk into work, you know, a lot happier than I do with the loss. Yeah.
That's totally fair.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely, like you said, a roller coaster season for sure. And but it did make the ups a lot more up. You know, it was definitely more fun. You got a little bit more excited because, like you mentioned, you know, when you're blowing out the Bears or whoever the Bucs were blowing out those first two Tom Brady seasons, it got, I don't want to say it was boring because, you know, it's still fun to watch winning football, but it definitely got to be a bit non-dramatic. And you know, I think one big moment, like you mentioned, the Cade Otton thing, the Rams beating the Rams, coming back at the very end, you know, just watching Tom Brady do his thing. You know, he had been doing it for years, and he just went out and just was like, all right, screw it, we gotta score a touchdown here, and man, they did it. So it was a really, really fun time, just fun to watch a guy that's, you know, a legend do his thing. There's not anyone else like him, and there probably won't be for a long time. You know, watching Mahomes is all fun and games, but it's not quite Brady, that's for sure. So we've talked about the biggest uplifting thing, but is there a biggest kind of disappointment or maybe a big bummer of a moment from last year? Musab, we'll start with you. What was kind of your biggest letdown moment of last season?
Oh man, I'm never gonna forget this. During that Thanksgiving week when we faced the Cleveland Browns. All right. And I just remember we were in the lobby. We were watching the World Cup that was going on. And then after the World Cup, they put that game on. And I just remember it was on the big screen. The lobby was empty. It was just me and my father. We were already up. There was a couple minutes left. And I was like, you know what? Like, this trip is going real well. I'm in Portugal. You know, everything's good. You know, and the Bucs are about to win. And then I'll fly back home. But, you know, a couple blinks and boom, you know, the Browns tie it. I'm like, oh my Lord. I was like, are you kidding me? And what made it worse was just the poor execution during overtime. They came through with the win. I don't know. That was just a real stinger for me. I think I had some like crap quality takeout Chinese. You know, I was down bad that day. I'm serious. I was like, are you serious? I was like, 2 more minutes. You just couldn't, you couldn't just fight back, or you couldn't just protect the win. So yeah, that was the biggest letdown for me that past season. Just overall poor execution. It happened here and there throughout the whole season, but that one just really stung. Zach, what about you, man?
Yeah, I think you nailed that one. That was a really good one. Like that moment was when I was like, yeah, this team's not what we thought they were coming into the season. But I have two kind of crappy memories. The playoff loss, obviously, it wouldn't have been as disappointing if it were one of almost any other team. But for it to be the Dallas Cowboys, the only team that would have been worse than that was the New Orleans Saints. So the fact that we lost to the Dallas Cowboys, who, God, I cannot stand, that kind of sucked. And then before the season even started, all the Tom Brady drama, man, I was just kind of over it. His divorce, he took a week off, and this, that, and the other. I was just, before the season even started, I was over Tom Brady. Like, I was like, I hope he retires this season. And then to see him just kind of show that he was human, it kind of was sad to see in a sense. I know it wasn't all on him, but it was like, damn, he's looking a little rough out there. He's not making some of those throws. It wasn't as drastic as a Peyton Manning's final season, but it was not great.
Yeah, it was definitely tough to watch. And like you said, it wasn't quite the Manning just, letting the defense win games for him. It wasn't quite that, but it definitely wasn't super good either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of down moments last season. I think the Panthers game where they lost to PJ Walker was definitely brutal to sit through. I remember listening to the Steelers game on the radio, and Kenny Pickett came in, and he was okay, and then he got hurt, and then Trubisky came in, and he lit up the Bucs, and Brady was just looking brutal. I mean, I get it. The Steelers had, the steel curtain and all that stuff. Mike Tomlin, one of the best defensive.
Great coach. Great. Hate the Steelers, but you got to credit where credit's due.
Absolutely. So I get it, but I just remember the Steelers having those. I think they were practice squad receivers, or maybe I think it was practice squad corners. They had nobody on the secondary. Yeah. I mean, they had it was D. Delaney and whoever else, Joe Schmo off the street. Lining up against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and the Bucs put up 14 points or something, and it was just, oh God, that was probably the lowest moment for me at least. But the Panthers one was also brutal because there was that at the beginning of the game, they had the touchdown. It was a great throw, great route by Evans. He beat his man, and it would have been an easy touchdown, and just doink, no catch. It was just, oh man, it was a bad omen, a tough way to start the season for sure. But that's how it be sometimes. And, obviously the Cowboys ending was also pretty brutal. But we don't want to end this episode on a bad note. So we'll talk about something a little more positive. So who are some guys that you're looking at this season that you're hopeful for, maybe they can, come out of kind of nowhere, a breakout player or maybe turning into a star, not just a breakout player, but a guy that could really hit the ground running and hit the gas pedal and just turn into a Pro Bowler potentially. Zach, we'll start with you. Is there anyone that you look at in that light?
I've got a few. I already said his name once today, but Servassier Dennis, I think we should expect something out of him just from what I'm seeing online. Cade Otton, I think, has the chance to become a star. Maybe not a superstar, but a star. And my underdog one, my would shock everyone is Payne Durham or Durham Payne, whatever.
Yeah. Payne Durham.
Payne Durham, yeah. Badass name. But I think that he could be a playmaker, and I think that he will get those second tight end snaps. I think that I can't even remember our other young guy's name. I know he doesn't do anything receiving wise, so why do I need to remember his name? Yeah, Kokeef. Yeah.
Funny because you kind of look like him. I figure you'd remember the guy that.
I do kind of look like him. You're not wrong. I will admit to that. But yeah, I think that he's going to be someone that is going to get those second tier snaps and could bump his way up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Payne Durham's a big body, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if he can kind of take on that Cam Brate role, I think that would be really, really fun because people don't realize Cam Brate's he's up there in receiving touchdowns in Buccaneer history.
He was sneaky,
right.
Sneaky good. You wouldn't expect it. I for the longest time could not stand Cam Brate.
Right.
I don't know why. I think it was just because he was sneaky good, and I was like, I want someone that knows they're good. Right. I don't want somebody that's quiet about it. I almost want a Gronkowski or a Travis Kelce. Not saying that he was on their level, but I mean, he's, in my opinion, Cam Brate is a Tampa Bay legend. He played here for a long time. He's going to stay up there towards the top in receiving touchdowns, especially for tight ends. So I think that he could play that role, but with more athleticism.
Absolutely. Musab, how about you? Maybe you have a different guy that you're looking at and you're thinking, oh man, he could really have a star potential season this year.
For me, I'm just hoping that, Kalijah Cansey and Vita Vea could work together. I'm hoping they're going to be like a little dynamic duo, just because, we got him first round. So, I mean, I'm hoping this guy, makes some noise on our team just because we really do need some help on the defensive side. Offense, I'll tell you this, our offensive line, we already know Ryan Jensen's a stud, Tristan Wirf's a stud, Luke Gadecki, I'm hoping he picks it up, but I'm really looking at Cody Mock. All right, I'm really hoping that he really kind of helps our offensive line. Just overall, our offensive line really needs to step it up. I'm hoping that, things are a little bit more set. I hope we're not kind of, having a hesitant rotation, game by game or after a couple games or so, trying to still figure out, what can we do to protect Baker or Trask or even our running backs as well. So those are my two guys that I'm looking at, hopefully kind of, ball out. I know they're both rookies, so I'm hoping at least one of them, really steps up to the plate and helps our team. What about you, Carter? Who are you thinking?
I'm going a little weird because they're not young guys or anything, but I'm going with Russell Gage and Ryan Neal. I think that Russell Gage, he just was a bit banged up last season. It was also just a weird offense to be in. They weren't running the football at all. So, I mean, it's not like he was facing a lot of, soft coverages. Like they were basically driving everyone back as they knew the Bucs sure as hell weren't running for any yards. So, it was tough to watch at times because he also got that big contract or a lot of big expectations for him. But I think with Brady gone and, there's kind of this more relaxed, like, well, the Bucs don't really know what they have. So screw it. Why not have a Pro Bowl type season? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm hoping that he comes out and plays a lot more loose, relaxed, just kind of plays his game. And then Ryan Neal, because, he had a very underrated season last year, but he was, according to PFF, he was one of the best safeties in football.
Number one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, right. And I'm just surprised that he wasn't signed by someone else. I mean, I don't mean to make the Bucs sound like a horrible place to play or anything, but they didn't give him a lot of money. They didn't give him a long-term deal or anything. So I'm a bit shocked that he wasn't able to command a bigger salary, a longer contract, et cetera, et cetera. So I think he's going to come out and just continue to do what he did last season. And, because it's another opportunity to get paid for him. And, money's the motive, so
exactly.
And I'm really hopeful that him and Antoine Winfield Jr., given that they stay healthy, hopefully, I think they can both make up a really, really fantastic duo. I loved the Kalijah Cansey and Vita Vea mentioned, though. I think, having a dynamic duo at the front and a dynamic duo at the back is going to be really, really fun, especially if the Devin White situation kind of eases itself out. Then they'll have, 3 levels of really, really good players. So I'm really excited. I mean, I think this is going to be just a weird season, and there could be a multitude of guys that can have sort of star seasons and, a lot of guys that we haven't even mentioned probably.
And we're still going to win the division. That's all that matters.
Right. Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. But we're coming towards the end of the episode. We want to thank you all for tuning in and listening. We know it's the off season. There's not a lot going on, but we certainly always love talking Bucs football. And we know we really appreciate y'all for tuning in. Definitely hit that like and subscribe button if you like what you heard. Also follow us on all of our social medias at RBLR Sports, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We got the Rays, Bucs, Lightning, and Rowdy shows as well, and they're fantastic. So definitely check those Rays, Lightning, and Rowdy shows out. They're wonderful. So thank you again for listening. And as always, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.